There's one real obvious question about this Georgia Bulldogs football team heading into spring practice in a month that I'm going to try to answer for you guys, but who are going to be the edge rusher? Who are going to be the players on this defensive line? What does that look like? Georgia has a lot of defensive talent heading off to the NFL. They're gone. Jalen Walker's gone. Mykel Williams is gone. People like that were staples of the defense the last few seasons, they're out. And Georgia's replacing a lot this season, and the unit that seems like it's getting gashed the most outside of the offensive line, which some people are happy about, is that front seven, that defensive line. Smile Munden in the front seven, obviously, linebacker. Warren Brinson, Nazir Stackhouse on the inside of the line. It's getting gutted, and there's going to be a lot of new faces in there. Who are going to be these guys? I'm going to talk about a few of them, right? Gabe Harris is a guy I think is going to step up. I think you might see a guy like Joseph Jonah step up, but this unit, right, that front seven kind of unit, I'm going to call it a unit. I know it's not technically one, but is a huge, huge reason why Georgia's been successful recently. And I think that we saw it not play as well as it did when it won national championships this season, when you compare these two seasons to it. But still really good. And now it's brand new. It's brand new. Happy Valentine's Day, by the way. I wore some pink for y'all. Ryan Curley from Dawg Post here talking about Georgia's front seven and really asking the question along with y'all. I'm sure that some of y'all have this, and I'm going to try to answer it and as we go through this offseason. But I've been covering Georgia for about 5 to 6 years now, and this is the first time where it's just a brand new unit and just completely gutted, right? I'm looking ahead, and I mentioned Gabe Harris Jr. Oh, you know what? I should mention before I really dig into it, Damon Wilson entering the transfer portal. Damon Wilson, he wore number 10 this past season, wore number 35 his true freshman season in 2023. If you're not familiar with him, he was a guy that I thought was going to become Georgia's primary guy on the edge, a guy who could probably go to the NFL after his junior year this upcoming season if he has a really good season in Athens. He looked at his options. Missouri called, offered him some money, and he went over there. And that's the extent that I know about that. If there's more to it than that, I don't know about it. But Damon Wilson decided that Athens wasn't going to be the best spot for him in the 2025 season. Does he know something that we don't know? Is there something bad about this front seven? Was it just about money? I have a lot of questions for Damon Wilson, and he can reach out and tell me about that. But I thought that he was going to be Georgia's premier edge rusher this season, and I thought that he made a lot of plays. I thought that he popped out in Austin, just being in the backfield with Jalen Walker, and it helps when you're alongside other really talented guys. But look, he's gone, and that's not going to be the case now. So the number one outside linebacker, to me, if we're going by seniority and kind of trajectory, it looks like it's going to be Gabe Harris, wearing number 29. He's got the hair coming out the helmet. Maybe when you look at him a little bit, he might remind you of Jarvis Jones. And in those days, obviously, he's one of the best edge rushers Georgia's ever had in football history. And I believe the last guy that's had double-digit sacks for the Dogs back in that 2012, 2013 range. Gabe Harris, he looks like that. I don't know if he is quite Jarvis Jones, but a guy that a year ago around this time, obviously a G-Day in spring practice, I actually thought he was going to end up playing more in 2024. He ends up being a rotation guy. If my memory serves correctly, it seems like he had more snaps than the beginning of the season, that first half of the season, and I think it may have teetered off for him a little bit as the season went on. I might be mistaken on that, but that's kind of the way I remember it. Gabe Harris, are you in trouble if that's like, this is a serious question, and this is no knock on Gabe Harris. Are you in trouble if he is your primary guy, or are we about to see the youth step up? Joseph Jonah is another guy that I mentioned. He is going to be kind of in that Mykel Williams role. That's what he's being projected as. This guy is tall. He's long. He kind of fits that part, right? You kind of got that from Mykel Williams, the really long arms, the stretch. Obviously, you got that from Trayvon Walker, and his physical traits got him to be the number one pick in the NFL draft. It certainly wasn't off of his production, because his production just wasn't there. It was potential and physical traits that got Trayvon Walker. Jalen Walker will be a first-round pick this upcoming draft. Trayvon Walker back in that 2022 draft. That's part of what got him got him drafted was just his physical traits. You see that out of true freshman Joseph Jonah Jonye, and they need freaks, right? For lack of a better term, and I think that you guys know by now that I like to use that word when describing special athletes. I think that they're freaky people. I think that they're not normal human beings. I feel that way about Malachi Starks, right? He's a really freaky athlete, and that's a big reason why he's probably going to be a first-round pick in this upcoming draft. Georgia has had a lot of freaks recently, and they're kind of gone, right? Jalen Walker is not normal, and that dude is jacked on another level, man. He's not the tallest, he's not the longest, but that guy is a specimen. Michael Williams, right? They're new faces, and you kind of see a little bit of that with Joseph Jonah, a really high recruit from that 2024 class. Obviously, he was a freshman this past season. He'll be a redshirt freshman this coming season. Gabe Harris wasn't this super, super highly touted guy. He's a four-star guy. He wasn't Nolan Smith or Trayvon Walker in terms of a prospect, but there's nothing wrong with being a four-star. And the interior is different, right? Warren Brinson and Nazir Stackhouse, they're out, right? And they've been staples of the defensive line for the last couple of years. Christian Miller, I think, is probably going to be your number one guy on the inside, number 52, Christian Miller. I remember watching him, Dean and I believe during the 2021 high school season. So I'd have to do the math to remember exactly when. I think that would have been Christian Miller's junior or senior year. We went and watched him, and he was one of the best players on the field, right? That's how it works. I thought that he made a few really nice plays this past season. Obviously, he's rotating in there. I think he dealt with an injury for a little bit this season. He's a guy that I think is going to kind of turn into one of Georgia's primary guys on the interior defensive line. Jordan Hall is a player that people have been excited about. Now, where's number 44? Big guy. Wasn't available at the beginning of the season due to the injury. Then kind of got roped in there towards the end. He's a guy that is probably going to be playing a lot. Former transfer from South Carolina, Xavier McLeod, will he become something? Because he really didn't do that much, right? Like, he just did it. He wasn't a heavy contributor to the defense. They're new faces. Quintavious Johnson, he wore number 33 this past season. He to me is a candidate of a number change, and we'll see that. I people like to change their number when others leave, and for some reason I have a feeling about this guy changing his number. That's just an inkling I have. I don't know. I don't have any inside information on that. But Quintavious Johnson's a guy that played in some garbage time as an outside linebacker, and when you're a younger player like he is, and he is obviously coming off of his freshman season, usually it's time to step up once you get to year two. And I think that you're going to get that at Quintavious Johnson, and they're probably going to have to ask him to do that, right? When Gabe Harris is your only outside linebacker. Chaz Chambliss and Jalen Walker were kind of your primary outside linebackers this past season, and they're out the door. At middle linebacker, that's in the front seven, those first two levels of the defense. Middle linebacker is the one that Georgia has recruited the most consistently and deeply. Between C.J. Allen, Raylan Wilson, Chris Cole, Justin Williams, Chris Jones, they are set at that spot. So you don't worry about that, even though Smile Munden is heading to the NFL in his own right and obviously was around and a starter for a few years and a contributor to national championship defenses. That hurts, but they're plenty fine at that spot. It's that defensive line. It's those edge rushers. We just don't know. There's so much unknown. That's why I'm not necessarily delivering you a lot of new information in this conversation here, is because it's going to look very different. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, guys like that over the last few years on the interior defensive line. Nolan Smith, Trayvon Walker, Jalen Walker, Michael Williams. All of that, what everyone's been getting used to, that sick talent is now out the door, and it's getting replenished. And potentially this will be better, right? You don't know until you actually get out there. But to me, Damon Wilson leaving hurt this unit, and I think that it's hard to pinpoint what is of most importance when you're talking about a football team. There's a lot of moving parts. It's not basketball, and you can say, okay, well, these guards need to be really good shot creators. That big needs to be this. It's kind of more on a string, and I think that I just think that the front seven being dominant is a huge reason why Georgia has been so successful. And I can't sit here and lie to you and say, yes, this is going to be a dominant front seven. I've got to wait till spring practice to see that. I just wanted to come on here and talk about how be aware if it's not good, be aware if it is good. What you really need to be aware of is we don't know. This is the mystery of this Georgia football team. I have a really good idea for what I think this offense is going to look like in terms of the personnel. That it's kind of clear in terms of the offensive line and quarterback, running back, receivers, tight end. That looks pretty clear to me. The secondary is somewhat clear to me, the picture of that. This front seven's not. And I don't know if that's a good thing. That's why I wanted to come on here and talk about it. Thank you for watching.